you're miserable and trying to achieve your goals, but then you're doing it wrong. What's going on, legend? Angus Beef here. Massive welcome back to the Anti-Diet TV channel and video series if you follow me on social media. I want to talk today about a bit of a shift of perspective in terms of your approach to your goals. So my firm belief is that if someone is miserable and not enjoying the game of achieving their goals in terms of achieving, an awesome scenario in terms of how they look and feel. Obviously everyone has their own outlook around that in terms of what they're chasing, whether it be goal weight, looking a certain way, feeling a certain way. You know, we've all got our goals, right? But if you're miserable in terms of your approach to chasing after them, fam, well then it's like, and you've heard me say this before in past videos if you've been following me for a while, but like if your approach is miserable, you're gonna have zero chance at keeping it up long term, let alone maintaining anything that you achieve, yeah? So the thing here is that like a step forward in the right direction to making sure that you don't have that miserable sort of scenario is, first thing, stop trying to be perfect. So it's like I find a lot of people when I find are in this like misery-filled state when it comes to trying to achieve their goals. They're often trying to be perfect, like 100% perfect or nothing. So in other words, they will be anal about absolutely everything, and then as soon as they slip up in one minor way or make one mistake, they're like, no, fuck it, and will usually be entirely off. And thus their choices and actions represent that. They stop training, they stop whatever their methods were, and they're just in this huge off mode until they then are feeling so shit that they then get back into on mode and are 100% on again. So in other words, what I'd encourage you to do if this is your mindset or approach is to get rid of that entirely and instead just focus on being in the middle. So in other words, this is where you probably heard things like 80-20 and stuff like that. So 80% of the time being consistent, 20% of the time, you know, I guess enjoying life. Not that you shouldn't be enjoying it in general, but you see what I mean? So it's like whatever that in-between looks like, because the in-between is so much more consistent. Because if you're trying to be on, like 100% on, 100% off, 100% on, 100% off, that's going to create longer term cycles of you trying to stick to something that's never going to be sustainable anyway. And then what that means is that long term, you're pretty much going to be stuck in the exact same place. So I believe that the way to create progression in a way that's enjoyable is where you can just be consistent with the in-between. So it's like there's no on or off, there's no track or anything anymore, because you know there's that saying where it's like, oh, I've got to get back on track, let's go, like whatever. How about let's just get rid of the track altogether and just live and focus on consistently trying to, over time, improve our lifestyle, improve our relationship with food, love ourselves more, and develop qualities, habits, and behaviors that we can actually live by 80% of the time at least. Much more effective way of looking at it. And then that way, there's no track, there's no 100% on, there's no 100% off, you just get to be in the middle. So if we can get rid of that outlook, it's gonna make winning the game so much more easier for you, all right? And other aspect being, seek ways to weave pleasure into your approach of consistency. So say for example for me, at the moment, like I've been in maintenance mode, not tracking, not doing any of that, and just enjoying being strong and living by my fundamentals and stuff for about 18 months now. But I know that when I'm, say for example, trying to dial in for a competition, in terms of trying to get ridiculously lean and that sort of thing, naturally that is where I will start tracking again so that I can minimize all gray area and make sure that I'm as consistent as I can be in terms of managing a specific intake and managing certain focus points and targets, so that way I can automate my progress that much more easier to come in looking a certain way for stage time, right? So to be able to make sure that I can stick to that process without it being a ridiculous grind and where I just hate life, hate everyone, hate myself, and set myself up for huge binges coming out of the comp. Instead, what I actually do is incorporate pleasure into the approach. So in other words, dessert every single day, the entire prep, or having refeeds every weekend, or having like week-long diet breaks strategically placed throughout the maybe 16-week prep, like, you see what I mean? And even another strategy that I started using in my last comp was to be stage ready 2 weeks out, so that way I could start reversing, so in other words, start increasing my intake coming into comp time for those last couple of weeks, so that way I'm handled and equipped to be able to come out of the comp lean sort of conditioning really effectively. And it's just like an awesome headspace for you to be in, because you're not feeling super deprived. Like, sure, it gets hard towards the end when your calories are a bit lower and that sort of thing, but if you've got pleasure weaved into the approach, it makes it so much more enjoyable from not only a psych point of view in terms of not feeling like overly deprived from what you enjoy, but it allows you to be able to still be sociable with, you know, friends and stuff and events and stuff that you got coming up. Because if you take all that away, what have you got? Just, you see what I mean? And I wonder why so often people quit this journey, or it's filled with so much more stopping and starting and stuff like that. And you add to that comparing yourself to others and that sort of thing in terms of their progress and what other people are at, and other celebs and influencers and stuff that you follow, and you add to that supplements and fat burners and shit like that that are promising to be able to speed up your results and that sort of thing, but then you dump money and resources into it and it doesn't work, and that defeats your self-esteem a bit more. So it's like, no wonder why people hate this journey and why it's got such a high failure rate, and why so much more people are struggling with their weight than ever before. So if I were you, take these things on board. If it's like, if it's something that you honestly struggle with in terms of adherence to the game and enjoyment of the game, understand that there are ways to improve and to make things more enjoyable. You can even take the approach, if you're extremely time poor, of, you know, planning a week's worth of targets and meals and stuff like that in advance. So you don't even have to track anything, and you've got everything pre-made for you. Like, seek ways to be able to make this game as enjoyable and sustainable for you as possible, so that way you can handle obviously, yeah, whatever the phase is. Like, if it's a fat loss phase, of course, set yourself up to make it as easy as possible, and then learn how to exit, so that way you don't stay in a deficit long term. Because for the average person, I find, that's in body transformation mode, they are on and off body transformation mode, shred mode for years on end. And then that's just where all you'll be met with is just more adaptation and yeah, nah, mate, from your body as it adapts and builds resilience to your efforts. In other words, yeah, it fucks with hormones and everything else. And that's where it makes losing weight really hard. But if anything to take from this video, seek ways to make the journey more enjoyable. If you don't know how to do that, action the things that I said in this video. And if you still don't know how to do that, get in touch with people like myself that can coach you to be able to master this yourself. All right. But either way, if you got some value from watching this video, let me know. Light up the comments below. Otherwise, share it on your social media. That'd be awesome. And yeah, I appreciate you for watching. If you're not following me on my personal social media or Instagram, check out any of the links below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week's video of Anti-Diet TV.